Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 190 of the Terminal City FC podcast. Can you believe it? 190.
Not
190
bad.
of these episodes. Yeah. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek, as per usual, talking all things football. And hello to everyone watching on the Area 51 Sports Network Twitter page and Terminal City FC YouTube, and of course, listening on any podcast platform. So, it's summer Whitecaps, and always thought this stretch would be tough. Whitecaps are in a bit of a slump. And heading into the game over the weekend against the LA Galaxy, thought it would be a win, but nothing in sports is guaranteed because it ended up being a 3-0 loss. I didn't see much of this game because I went to see the new F1 movie, but Nathan did, so he'll tell you more about it.
Honestly, everything that we've learned about the Galaxy so far this season, throw it out the window. They actually played a very, very good game. I don't think the Whitecaps were prepared for this game, and a lot of that lack of preparation you could see in the lineup, even as it was given out. We had questions about this lineup when it was initially handed to us, specifically in the midfield.
Yeah.
You were playing with Vite, Badwal, and Ngando. So you have two very, very young. I mean, I guess you have three young guys. Pedro Vite is still a young guy too. But one thing that we did learn in this game is that for as excited as Whitecaps fans are of Javine Badwal, he is not a number 6.
No, he's proper number 8.
He's a proper number
More of a
8.
number.
He's a guy that wants to get forward. And that's not to say he can't be an 8 in the future. You got to remember that a lot of time defensive quality comes with maturity. I mean, think of Alphonso Davies. The guy didn't have a defensive bone in his body when he played with the Whitecaps. He's now considered one of the best left backs in the world. It is something that could be added to his game, but to be thrown into the mix against, the defending champions, I think was a bridge too far for the young kid. Continually losing those midfield battles, continually being pushed back. We saw Paintsel get
2 goals.
Yeah, get over everything that's been affecting him. One of the goals was a penalty. And then
That first goal, though, by Nascimento, originally Takaoka made the save, but he spilled it, and the rebound was put in.
Yeah, this was one that I think you can safely say Takaoka should have done better.
Yeah, he should have done better there.
The save was good, but yeah, being the way it was spilled was not good. I still think people get down too hard on Takaoka. I mean, especially when you take a look at that, he faced 8 shots on target in the game, which in most games is quite a hefty number. The fact that he still put up 5 saves, and one of the other shots was also a penalty. I think this is one of those games where you can't really take a lot out of it. You just got to take the hit and move on. I don't know. It's the whole Ted Lasso thing, right? Be a goldfish.
Yeah,
just forget it.
It also didn't help as I watched back, like the attack really was lacking, in the final third, and that also played in part with the midfield not being balanced.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah. Whitecaps only managed 1 shot on target.
Yeah. I think the other thing we can mention about this is we need to talk about Jayden Nelson. Jayden Nelson came on at halftime, and he actually really kind of injected a level of pace and aggressiveness, intensity into the match that was sorely lacking from the Whitecaps in that first half. I thought he was adding a little bit of excitement. The ball was moving better, and for about the first 15 minutes, it seemed like maybe they would get back in. And unfortunately, that was stopped with Paintsel's first goal. And then we saw that frustration come in. Yellow cards to Jayden Nelson. The second one, completely
apparently for kicking the ball.
Completely avoidable. I mean, basically kicked the ball into the stratosphere. We actually got to talk to him at the end of yesterday's match. Sorry, not yesterday, Wednesday.
The other day. Yeah.
And you know what? He acknowledged the mistake. Apologized for what was going on. Also thanked Jesper for how coaching staff dealt with it. Acknowledging like you can't do this, you can't act like this, but not reading the riot act to the player because
because
solve anything, right?
Sorensen said, Jaden's Yellow card was stupid, which couldn't have said it better. And yeah, it just goes to show, young guy still maturing, still growing. But it, Nelson's comments the other day, very good. Like he's saying, yeah, learn from it, move on. The coaching staff are doing well to teach that. It's a
Yeah,
teaching
it's,
moment.
it's almost more like you feel kind of sheepish, right? You feel a little bit embarrassed after doing
Yeah,
it. You realize, yeah, what I did was just it doesn't help anyone. Of course, we're frustrated. He's not the only one that was frustrated, but that was one of those games where I don't think anyone painted themselves in a positive light.
yeah.
There
I think it
was
was
not a
just
lot of positives to take from that game. I did talk about how in the first half, I did like the play of Veselinovic and Blackman. Yes, the one goal happened, but I wasn't putting that on them. The second half, yeah, they kind of joined everyone else in losing it. So you know what? Galaxy get their second win of the season. Whitecaps with their what was that, third loss? I
yeah. I
believe
think so.
fourth
Third or
loss.
fourth loss.
Fourth
Yeah,
loss now. Yeah, but they're still doing really well. I mean, second place, only 1 point behind San Diego. People that are hitting the panic button right now, remember where your club was at this point of the season last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. Stop panicking.
I
Just
wouldn't
stop.
push the panic
Because
button
the other
yet.
thing is the Whitecaps have not had they haven't been able to have a full team practice, a full team meeting since back in Mexico, which was over a month ago, right?
Right.
They've had all the injured guys there, but they had so many players that were on international duty, and that was still the case with Sebastian Berhalter and Brian White on that game on the weekend. It wasn't until the game on Wednesday when they finally had their actual roster at the training center. So
Yeah.
let's just take a breath.
Yeah, I wouldn't push the panic button yet. And besides, the
We're
injuries,
miles.
international call-ups, we're starting to get to them, and we knew this stretch was going to be tough,
Yeah.
heading into it. But
Let's put it this way. You and I talked about this 6-game road trip, and we were happy if they could get 10 points because that would be one more than winning half.
yeah,
I didn't expect them to beat LAFC.
I didn't
I
expect
did
them to lose
expect
to
them
LA
to
Galaxy.
beat Galaxy. So it was a flip, right?
Right. And don't hit the panic button yet, mainly because the Whitecaps haven't had their full squad. But if this continues on till like August, September, then you can hit the panic button.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The other thing is as soon as we finish this really, really hard stretch, the Whitecaps have a pretty lengthy break heading into the first week and a half of August where they don't play any matches. I think it's also the time when Leagues Cup is getting started. And because Whitecaps aren't involved in that, they can take
There's a break. Right? Yeah, there's after the 26th, they don't play until the 9th, and then they don't play until the 17th after that.
Yeah, so they've got a big, almost mid-season break where, depending on what they do in the transfer window, they can start kind of, blooding in new players, and they can regroup. They've got lots of time to do it, and I think some of that is going to be that some of those injuries are players that are going to be coming back.
Hey, you know what's good news? Ryan Gauld is training.
Yes,
he's had his boots on, and that's good news. No timeline yet, but that's a welcome sight.
Well, the fact that he'd only been in the weight room, doing cardio on bikes, he hadn't actually got out onto the pitch with the rest of the team. And I mean, I actually had to take a look. Like we're hitting what, 4 months now, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
In my head, it was always like, oh, it was only a couple of months ago. I was like, no, this has been a very, very lengthy injury in his career. The fact that he's actually back on the pitch with his team is going to do a lot for the confidence of this team. Having your captain back amongst the group is going to be huge. Yes, it's going to take him time to get back his fitness and then get back to match fitness, but having him in and amongst his peers, the guys that as a captain he's supposed to be a leader on the team, that's going to do a lot.
Yeah, and the transfer window is opening up in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what the Whitecaps do. I believe they need a left back since Sam Adekugbe is out for the year. And they also need a depth center back and depth in the midfield. Basically, nothing too big, nothing too fancy unless something changes, with the squad. It's more depth, and you could also use those U22 spots.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. When I look at the midfield, I look at players like Copeland as well, who's on Whitecaps too. But we have a lot of young players that have come up into that midfield over the past while. Mangando, got to remember, this is his first full actual season with the Whitecaps, right? Because he was on loan the previous season. Badwall, I mean, really, yes, I know he signed the contract last year, but this is his first full year with the team. Getting someone with a bit of experience in that midfield is not a bad idea.
Yeah. And someone maybe with a bit of experience, maybe a U22 on the back line to take the pressure off Ranko and Tristan Blackman.
Yes. We'll talk about the game on Wednesday. We can talk about Utvik there as well. But I do want some that, or I want to see Bilal Halbouni push.
Yeah, for also him.
Because I have enjoyed when he has played, but it's been very few and far between. I wish we would see him a little bit more.
Yeah, and Whitecaps, added Nelson Pierre, though from Whitecaps SV2, acquired from the Philadelphia Union to the roster for striker depth. So that's something. And since Damir Krylak has been bought out and is pretty much retired, $495K in wages and another senior roster spot.
Yeah. The one thing is, and you guys still got to remember how much GAM that the Whitecaps have. Like, they actually have quite a lot compared to other teams.
Yeah, they stockpiled some GAM in March, so they're doing something, I would assume.
Yeah, so I think that there is a lot of possibility of movements. I think we're going to see one, if not two, starting players come in.
We're going to see multiple signings this window.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah, and it's all quiet. Pedro Vite has, according to Manuel Vase of Transfermarkt, has signed a contract extension, but of all teams, Pumas is poking around and looking to sign him. And for those saying, but he's apparently signed a contract extension, he does that, and if he leaves, more money for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, you got to remember the financial power of Pumas compared to the Whitecaps. Whatever, yes, it's great that he signed a new contract. It does up, a potential transfer fee. Not a problem for Pumas.
Yeah, and Manuel, he also put out on Blue Sky that's 50-50 that Vite stays. So we'll follow that story. And if Vite chooses to stay, that's great. And if Vite chooses to leave and they get a big fee for him, that's also fine. And the Whitecaps can use that money to find a replacement.
You also have to remember back in April that there were rumors that AS Roma was interested in Pedro Vite as well, right? So, it's not just on this side of the pond. There has been interest.
And Benfica, too.
Yeah.
Oh, and Panathinaikos.
We remember, a couple years ago, we remember hearing there was interest from Belgian clubs. So people have been watching Pedro Vite, and he's definitely making the case for himself this year. I think he has really stepped up his game as a creative midfielder, especially in the absence of Ryan Gauld. The team has had to rely more on the creative prowess of someone like Pedro Vite. I think it would be a big loss. He's not a player that I think could be easily replaced mid-season. But the fact that if Faith is correct and they have signed him, I trust Manuel, but I haven't seen it reported anywhere else. That's the thing. But if they have signed him to an extension, it gives the Whitecaps power in any sort of negotiation.
Yeah, and back to center backs, the Whitecaps were strongly linked to Luc de Forgeron, but apparently, according to a Fulham journalist, forgot his name, he has signed a contract extension there, so that dream's dead.
I'm not surprised. You also got to remember that de Forgeron was born in London.
Yep.
So, signing with Fulham just means he gets to stay in his hometown. Yes, I know he plays for the Canadian men's national team. He has that through I believe his mother, I want to say. One of
Yeah,
his
I think it's his mom.
Yeah. So, I mean, I applaud the Whitecaps for looking at players of that caliber, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that DeFugeros wants to stay with Fulham and fight for a spot there. You have to be
Yeah.
happy for a young player who's betting on himself.
Yeah, that's good. And well, we'll see what the Whitecaps do in the transfer window, but they also play it, as we mentioned the other day, in the Canadian Championship quarterfinal second leg against Valor at BC Place, and we forgot the first leg even happened because it was over a month apart. But the Whitecaps wasn't easy. Valor, to their credit, made it difficult with their low block, but the Whitecaps ended up advancing.
There wasn't a lot that, you know what, I will say Valor played an excellent defensive game. There was nothing going forward, right?
Yeah.
Never felt, they didn't have their first shot on target until sometime in the second half. And even then, there was only one.
Yeah, that was the goal.
It was the goal. And it was the goal, which
from a set
unfortunately,
piece.
for Isaac Bomer, that sucks. It was one-way traffic. The 72% possession. At times in the second half, they were pushing 80% possession in that second half. The one thing I will say, that second half showed you how important Sebastian Berhalter is.
Yeah, because that first half, it was all that possession, all of that control, hardly any attack, and it was all bark no bite.
Yeah, and the thing is if you were Valor, you felt pretty good. They did exactly what they wanted. They were trying to wait out the Whitecaps and get to a point where they could just hit that, those fine counters, or on the set pieces, as Phil DeSantos talked about in his post-match comments.
Yep.
It was a great first half if you're Valor. If you're the Whitecaps and you had all the possession, you had all the ball, you had all the movement, and none of that was in the 18-yard box.
Yeah, there was a lot of crosses into the box. No one's on it. There was
a lot of lateral movement. They're trying to stretch the game. They're trying to break, how compact Valor was playing, and Valor wasn't having any of it, right?
Yeah, and then there were some chances that were missed as well. But yeah, in the second half, Sebastian Berhalter comes on for Badwall, and it changes the tide. And the midfield looks more direct and more stable.
Yeah. Goal didn't come until the 79th minute, though.
Emmanuel Sabi off the bench just blasts it, and was a really nice taking goal. And the Whitecaps were up 1-0. Sigh of relief, but it didn't last long, unfortunately, because off a corner kick, Valor's Javonte Lane managed to get a header after some really messy marking.
Yeah.
Of the Whitecaps past Isaac Bomer, and all squared to look like we're heading the penalties. But of all people, in stoppage time, Jaden Nelson crosses the ball in. He had a very lively game, and then of all people, Bjorn Inge Udvik gets his header and pretty much wins the game for the Whitecaps, and that was his first goal as a Whitecap.
It was, yeah, which I hadn't realized. It kind of gives you feelings of how we felt when Tristan Blackman scored that late goal in Mexico.
Yep.
Center back coming out of nowhere. It's the expected scoreline. It's what you expected. But yeah, the fact that it took so long, it shows you how much the Whitecaps needed these players that had been gone for a month back in their lineup. It's going to take time for them to come back in. We all saw Brian White leave around, what was the 65th, 70th minute. He did go down the tunnel, but came back out. He was back out for Sabi's goal. Talked to Sorensen at the end of the game about that. It's just the fact that in the time that Brian White was gone, he didn't play a lot, right? He wasn't used a lot.
Only played 7 minutes for the U.S. or something like that.
He's got to actually get back his match fitness and, being able to play the number of minutes he did. Even Sorensen admitted that for large parts of the first half, you could see Brian White more the thinking rather than the acting.
He did have that one chance where he skied, and I felt like, oh, rust.
Yeah,
because
he's
Brian
going to
White
get
usually
back
scores
into
that.
it, and he is going to get there over the next game or two. But yeah, I think having those two players back, along with the other players that we had with other national teams, is now it's going to feel better going forward.
Yeah, and I should also mention Ralph Priso in that game.
Yep.
Kubis is still injured, but he's done a great job filling in, and quietly got the job done.
You want to have your award for most improved player?
Oh, Priso wins it by a landslide.
Priso definitely has to be up there. Yeah, if not, like you said, winning it outright. He has become a very, very capable midfielder. I think the biggest improvement. It was funny because when he came to the Whitecaps, I remember talking to a reporter from Denver because he had just come from Colorado Rapids about him. About what's the story about Ralph Priest, and he said very athletic player, will run at full tilt for the full 90 minutes, but he's missing some of the intelligence to his game. That's any player that just comes with experience and maturity. Playing at this caliber, we're starting to see that, and I think we're seeing Priso understand his game and his role very quickly.
Yeah, and we see that intelligence like develop where he just does a simple thing, and that's sometimes all you need to do with the ball or without the ball.
We're not expecting
score goals. And also didn't help that Vanni Sartini played Priso up higher last season. Well, this season, Jesper Sorensen has him deeper as a number 6, and that just works better. He looks more comfortable.
I agree. I think he it's kind of like the opposite of what we were talking about just a little while ago about Javine.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Badwall.
I think he's more than capable of playing as that 8, but it's definitely not. I wouldn't call it his favorite position.
Yeah, so I mean, credit to Valor for making the game close. I mean, the Whitecaps made it closer than it should have been, but what matters is the result, and the Whitecaps advanced in Canadian Championship final, and they will play the guys from Hamilton, the CPL's villain, Forge, in the semifinals, and the dates were just revealed this morning, I believe, for those 2 legs. Let me just bring it up here. Let's see. Yep, we have Ford. They're gonna go to Hamilton on August 13th, and then Forge comes here on September 18th. Again, a month's apart between the 2 legs because
Oh, yeah, I see it here. I will say right now, I think that this is going to be a very great tie. You've got to remember Forge, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Forge is the only CPL team that has made the final of the Canadian Championship.
A CPL team hasn't.
I thought they had once made the final.
Yeah, and this will be the first year CPL team will make the final. I said that a few months ago.
Yeah.
Kind of feel like a prophet.
Yeah. Anyone watch their game against Montreal? They won that in style. Their second half was very.
They controlled the game.
Very dominant. Forge is going to be a lot more open than Valor.
Yeah, I expect Forge to be more attacking. They're more of an attacking side than Valor.
Forge is going to not. They're not going to feel threatened. Let's put it that way. It's not going to feel like a CPL playing an MLS side, right? Like it's going to be 2 teams that go out with a game plan, thinking that they can win. And I think it's going to be more open. I think in a weird way, it might actually give the Whitecaps more space in behind Forge. So you're not going to have a game like Valor where you're just trying to break down this low block of 5 at the back. It's going to be more exciting.
I would expect fireworks in these 2 legs. And yeah, Forge knocked out CF Montreal. Like the 2 goals Forge scored to win, and they were given a ton of time and space. And that game had a power outage in Montreal,
I know, right?
and it just goes bad to worse for Montreal this season. Oh, worse to even more worse, or like it just gets so low for Montreal. It reminds me of like the Whitecaps in 2019 when they got knocked out by Cavalry. But
Yeah.
I don't know, this just feels worse. One could argue that. And really, that club is in tatters. That club is a dumpster fire.
You and I we weren't really joking, but we were musing in the press box after while we were waiting for the Whitecaps when they were warming up and that game finished, and we were wondering, it's like, you look 2, 3, 5 years in the future, and you have to wonder if CF Montreal exists as an MLS team.
Yeah, I worry for that club.
It has nothing to do with the infrastructure or anything like that. It has to do with the ownership. I feel like the ownership has flipped in the fact that it's all about Bologna.
Yep.
And CF Montreal is just
an offshore fund. Well, I don't know if you want to call it that.
I don't understand it, because I think the potential for CF Montreal to be a legitimate contender in the Eastern Conference is there if they decided to do it. Give them a second team that plays in MLS Next Pro. Build the team, keep the young guys that you have developed, or if you're going to get rid of them, use that money to strengthen yourself. But it seems like every time that Montreal kind of just gets there, they get gutted.
Remember in 2022, Montreal finished like second or first, I think, in the Eastern Conference, but they lost Kone, they lost Johnson, they lost Mihailovic, didn't do anything to replace them, and then of course they lost Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah.
So that club, just when they somehow find a way to be good, it just all falls apart soon after.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I would be very, very frustrated if I was a CF Montreal fan.
Yeah, and I fear for that club's existence in the next years.
I do too. I legitimately do as well.
Yeah. So, and Whitecaps will face Forge, and Vancouver FC will face Atletico Ottawa, and there's a chance for a 2-leg Vancouver derby. But Canada Soccer decided to flip the brackets this year for whatever reason.
Well, they did that draw. Right. So,
yeah.
I mean, it could have been Vancouver versus Vancouver in the semifinals, but with the draw, I mean, yes, it's yet another year where likely it doesn't happen unless, Vancouver FC surprise us, which, they have. But if the Whitecaps can get past Forge, I'm not going to say it's a given. It's not.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the likely opponent is going to be Ottawa.
Yeah, because Ottawa's leading the CPL right now.
Yeah.
So, yep. We'll have to wait a month for the next Canadian Championship game, but the Whitecaps are back in action this Saturday at altitude against the Colorado Rapids, who are struggling a bit themselves. As Colorado sits 10th in the Western Conference with a 7-5-10 record, and they're coming off a 3-0 beatdown of LAFC, which they were down to 10 men for pretty much
the entire game.
Yeah, they 2 straight losses.
Red card in the 6th minute.
Yeah, Colorado's coming off 2 straight losses, and they haven't won since June 25th against Galaxy.
Yeah. So
that was 1 win in their last 5. 3 losses and a draw.
The Whitecaps got to use this. They've now got their full squad back. Obviously, players like White are going to be getting back to full match fitness. They still don't have Ali Ahmed. They're going to be missing Jaden Nelson.
Yeah,
they will have Ralph Priso back, who finished his, I think it was a yellow card accumulation suspension. So he'll be back. Kubas, we don't know. Right now, we're still waiting to hear. But I think the Whitecaps got to look at this as an opportunity to start getting back to where they were at the beginning of the season. And that's something that Jesper Sorensen talked about as well, is now that you actually have the full squad back in the same building. Yes, I know there's injuries and some of those guys aren't going to be playing, but they're in the building. Now you can start getting back to that. You can start building something that's cohesive rather than, every time you want to talk to one of your players, you got to do a phone call because they're playing, 4 hours away.
Yeah, and good opportunity against a team that has struggled over the past month or so, or even before that, because I see a lot of losses in May. And but it's going to be at altitude in Colorado. Hopefully there isn't a weather delay again, because Colorado is famous for it.
Yeah.
So just get back into form, put the Galaxy game away, out from the minds, and just learn from what went wrong, and get back to winning ways. In Colorado, we're here back in April, where the Whitecaps won 2-0. So they have the chance to do the double.
Yeah.
I mean, no excuses really. Just, get back out there and get 3 points.
I would say, especially when we want them to get, more than 50% of the points in this
road trip.
These are the sort of games that you have to attack, right?
Yeah, and I feel like, this game in Colorado is more winnable than the game in Houston, because Houston has been a house of horrors for the Whitecaps.
I do wonder what they're going to do with Jaden Nelson out. I do wonder if they're going to try to put Rios on the wing again with Sabi.
Or they put Ocampo on the wing like they did a few games ago.
I think that's one of those moves that works if you do it in later stages of the game.
Yeah.
Right? It's not one of those ones that I would start a game with.
Probably put Rios on the...
Either Rios or they move Vitae up, but I don't think they're going to do that unless they...
I don't think they won't. I don't want them to do that.
I don't want them to do that, but I think that if Kubas is healthy enough to play this game, it is an option they will definitely consider.
Yeah, we'll see. I think later today, possibly, or even tomorrow, see what the status of Kubas is, because the injury he sustained against LAFC isn't that serious.
Good. Reports have to be into MLS today.
So we'll find out later today, possibly by the time this podcast is up. So yeah, the Whitecaps, Colorado Rapids, second versus 10th, and tomorrow actually from Dick's Sporting Goods Park at 6:30. Hopefully the Whitecaps can get back on track and continue to make up ground and show their contenders for the Supporter Shield.
Absolutely.
All right, some Canadian men's national team transfer rumors. Tajon Buchanan has been rumored to move from Inter Milan to Sassuolo, according to Fabrizio Romano. Potential €8 million move with a sell-on clause and a buyback clause.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this.
Me neither.
One, if he moves, he'll play. He'll definitely get game time. The buyback clause is interesting because, if he does well, Inter Milan's going to be able to buy him back on the cheap. Because if he's only moving for €8 million, to move back is going to be somewhere within that as well. Like, it's not going to break their bank.
And Sassuolo are a team that just got promoted, by the way.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I want him to fight for a spot in Milan.
Yeah. He's barely played there, mainly due to that horrific injury he sustained last year. But I'd rather have him fight for a place in Milan or go back to Spain.
Or that, yeah.
And apparently, according to Nico Shira, a sports journalist out of Italy, I believe, out of Milan, a deal between Buchanan and Sassuolo is close, getting closer.
There you go.
So I wouldn't know how to feel about this. Maybe he has a chance to blossom there, with more minutes.
You know what? The other thing that I'm just thinking of is heading into a World Cup year. The more game time that he can get, the better.
I'd rather see him, play for a team that's in Europe,
Yeah.
like in one of the European competitions. Since those a newly promoted side.
They're one of those
Hey, if
teams.
you get
They're kind of like a yo-yo team, right?
yeah, they're like the Italian Norwich.
The Italian Norwich. That was a good comparison.
So, if he's guaranteed starting time and a lot of game time, sure, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's not the only Canadian right now in talks of a move or rumored to be moved. Nico Sigur, the kid from Burnaby, has been rumored to move from Hajduk Split to Italian side Atalanta, and Hajduk is asking for €8 million as well. Hey, Sigur was in Vancouver, to watch the Whitecaps against Valor, but don't think that he's going to sign for the Whitecaps. No, he's just here for summer holidays.
Again, a move I'm not too sure. Don't get me wrong, Atalanta would be a great team to play for.
Now they're a team that's like fighting, competing for Champions League spots.
They are. I think it would be a good one. The one thing is that when Sigur was in Vancouver, he talked about, and I'm trying to remember that who Hajduk had just added, but it was a big name when it comes to Croatian football, and he had kind of taken Nico under his wing a little bit in terms of helping him grow and become the player that he is becoming. You're going to lose that if you move to Atalanta. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe moving out of his element, especially to a bigger team, a bigger league, can allow him to grow even further.
I mean, I'd be cool if he makes the move.
Yeah. Now, right now, this is only being reported in Croatian media.
Yeah, and Atalanta is in the Champions League next season, so bigger spotlight for him.
I you know what? I always like when players bet on themselves.
Yep.
It would be a move that I would like to see. If it doesn't happen, I know that he is going to have a home at Hajduk, and he's going to play, right? Like that he's not going to be written out of there anytime soon. If it happens, I think it would be a very nice move for him.
Yeah, and just get him out of his comfort zone, let him develop in a bigger environment, and play among like the Europe's elites in the Champions League. So if this happens, I would be all for it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Canadian women's side, they played their friendly against the United States last week, and it was not good at all. 3-0 loss. Just outclassed all game. Didn't have a single shot on target until like late in the game. I think near stoppage time.
Tilted pitch.
Yeah, just
not a lot going. I mean, these are the sort of teams that Canada needs to test themselves against, and the Americans didn't treat it like a test.
The Americans they're a class of their own, but at least put up a fight.
Yeah, this was a step back for KHC Stoney, and
this is a wake up call for Canada.
Yeah, still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and if you want to compete with the best in the world, you got to be better than that.
Yep.
And for Canadian players, Olivia Smith is set to become women's football's first £1 million player, according to Tom Gantry, I believe that's his name with the Guardian, as she is set to join Liverpool from Arsenal.
Big move.
Big move, and it's a Canadian that's breaking the record.
Absolutely. Good honor. Again, this is just, it's another ceiling in the women's game that's being not even kind of broken, but obliterated. But
20 years old from North York, Toronto, making a big move. Yeah, world record.
It is one of those moves that is going to put a bit of spot. It's going to put a spotlight on you. So if you are the first player to go for over £1 million, there's going to be some serious expectations on you. And as much as I hate to say it, though, the Arsenal women's side is a very, very good side. Yeah,
they are. And the previous record was actually this year, in pounds, 880 3,000 for Naomi Girma from San Diego Wave to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So that just breaks that record. The record's going to go higher and higher and higher as the years go by.
This is like on the men's side when the €100 mark was broken. I think what was like the €100. It was Gareth Bale back in the day, and then I mean that lasted for mere moments as it got obliterated higher and higher and higher. You remember when Neymar literally delivered cash for his move to PSG, and what it is now. It's just stupid.
And it goes to show how
it's not going to be that long until you see the 2 million mark go
or the 3 million mark. Yeah, it's not going to be long. It goes to show how women's football is progressing and how good of a talent Olivia Smith is. She has high potential. It's only 20, by the way. Yeah. There's pressure, but it's up to her to meet the pressure.
Absolutely.
The pressure. All right, over across the pond. Well, we are there already. So Chelsea are in the Club World Cup final, and I don't want to hear anyone saying, "Oh, they had the easy route. They had the Brazilian teams and LAFC and AS Tunis."
The Brazilian teams did great in this.
Yeah, they did. And remember, a week ago, people were like, "Oh, the Brazilian teams, man, they're beating PSG. They're beating all these other big teams in Europe."
One of them can go. Did you see the press conference where Chelsea's head coach was bemoaning all the games that they've had to play, and he's like, "I think we've had to play 63 full-on games this whole season. That's nothing compared to the Brazilians." And then a Brazilian guy said,
"Reporter says Fluminense has played more."
Yeah, they played 70 because they have to play not only in their national league, they have the state leagues as well.
I don't want to hear it as though Chelsea had the easy path. It's not easy. These Brazilian teams are good. Underrated league, by the way.
Yeah.
2-0 win over Fluminense, and Joao Pedro could change lives for Chelsea fans because one start, one brace. A striker that can shoot, dribble, and has a bit of pace to him. This is what Chelsea have been looking for years, and of all places, it comes from Brighton. And those who have listened, I had my doubts about this signing, but he's already proven me wrong. That first goal, banger outside of the box, past the Fluminense goalkeeper. Second goal, Cole Palmer starts the counterattack, and then Joao Pedro just runs down the left wing and just blasts it. This guy, against his boyhood club, by the way, that's why he didn't celebrate. This guy could be him. And sure, he's not the big flashy name, but sometimes you don't have to go for the flashy guy, it seems. And Joao Pedro could potentially be the striker Chelsea have been looking for years. So, also should mention that I think Fluminense got away with a handball because Chalobah put his hand on the ball while he's trying to have his arm like this. VAR, the referee initially gave it a penalty, but VAR said no. I don't know about that one. I think Chelsea got away with it. And in the first half, Fluminense nearly scored because Robert Sanchez was too hesitant to come out and get the ball. But Marco Cucurella makes a goal line clearance and does a Thiago Silva impression with Thiago Silva playing against Chelsea. And the guy's still playing and he's still doing well, which is nice to see. And Pedro Neto, apparently, I saw a stat yesterday, 18 take-ons that were successful, more than any other player in the Club World Cup. He's having a hell of a tournament, and wish this would translate to the Premier League once the season starts, because he's just been on fire with his take-ons. He's scoring goals. He's being creative. Like, at one point in the first half, he was trying to pull a Ankara Messi in some sorts, but it nearly materialized, but didn't happen. So this guy, if I had to pick Chelsea's player of the tournament, it'd be Neto. And Caicedo continues to be the engine. He hurt his ankle late in the game. I don't know why he wasn't taken off earlier, but he's training, so it seems he's good to go for the final. But before we get to that, transfers. There's a lot happening. So Arsenal have an obsession with signing Chelsea players. I don't know why. I don't know. Apparently, Mikel Arteta pushed for this move.
You know what? It's the most showy derby in the league. It's a derby that means nothing because of all these deals that you guys do.
Nani Madueke is a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. £50 million. Can you believe it? Plus add-ons, which would be about like 52, 53 million. So Madueke, see ya. Chelsea fans are happy with this deal because it's a 50 million plus add-ons. I don't know why Arsenal wanted him anyway, but Chelsea bought him in 2023 from PSV for 25. Get double that, so profit. Frees up space for a winger. Could it be Morgan Rogers? Could it be Rodrigo? Could it be someone else? Hope it's one of those two. But I don't understand why Arsenal for years keep buying Chelsea rejects. And Madueke's going to be a backup to Saka. Well, he had his moments at Chelsea. He was just too inconsistent, too, frustrating at times. Did have his moments like that game against Wolves where he had a hat trick, but it just seems that, it's the ups and downs were too much. And with the new signings come in, Madueke sought a new challenge, but of course he had to go to the rivals. So there goes the leader of Mendham FC. See ya. And Fabrizio Romano reports that it's very possible Nicholas Jackson could leave. And he said Premier League clubs are interested, plus AC Milan, who are obsessed with him, quote unquote, but Jackson is too expensive. And given Madueke went for 50 million, why can't Jackson go for that much? And Atletico Madrid are also one to watch, apparently. So, time for Chelsea to beat AC Milan at their game for the whole Maignan saga. How about, I don't know, how about you do 30 million plus Mike Maignan? That's what I would do, How about that? But I'm not the sporting director, so we'll see what happens with Nicholas Jackson, because it really does feel his time is up at Chelsea. Speaking of goalkeepers, this just happened. David Ornstein put out the bomb mod that Jordi Petrovic is going to sign for Bournemouth for £25 million. So that's more profits. And it also has been reported that Chelsea are fine with Robert Sanchez and Philip Jorgensen being their goalkeepers next season, which is just poor. I don't know why. So I rather wish they kept Jorgensen because of his potential and how well he did at Strasbourg. But I wish him the best. I think he'll do well at Bournemouth. Hopefully you don't regret this one. But they just have to go for a goalkeeper. Because Maignan was right there. Apparently Diogo Costa is looking to leave Porto this summer, but he'll be expensive. Go for an upgrade. Because I don't think many Chelsea fans will be happy with another year of Robert Sanchez and his blunders. So we'll see if they change their mind there. And there's also another weird transfer. Matthias Amagu, the 19-year-old midfielder signed from Saint Etienne in January, has been sold to Strasbourg for an undisclosed fee. So Chelsea bought him and then sold him to their sister club. Which, sure, I guess. Beats losing one of the loan spots.
This could be looked at as a tax write-off.
It feels like money laundering.
Yeah, it does.
And apparently this was planned since January, which was weirder. Why couldn't Strasbourg just buy him? That's strange. Sure.
Because this way Chelsea gets to record the profit.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, well, more money for more signings, plus the Club World Cup earnings. And other than that, it's Portuguese sources say João Felix is close to joining Benfica for 30 million. See ya. One of the most pointless signings Chelsea has ever made. 30 million is good. And João Felix just really never lived up to his potential anywhere. So, the final Sunday against PSG. Am I optimistic? Cautiously, but I'm scared. Because the way PSG manhandled Real Madrid in their semifinal.
PSG is the best team in the world right now.
Yes, they are. The way they beat Bayern Munich, they destroyed Inter Milan in the Champions League final. I just hope Chelsea don't get destroyed. At least put up a fight. But Chelsea have been in this situation before in their history. They've been the underdog in finals before. 2012, Bayern were the favorites, Chelsea won. 2021, Man City were the favorites. Chelsea won. Chelsea were the underdogs in the Europa League final in 2019 against Arsenal. They won. Chelsea weren't given much of a chance to make top four this season. They did. So the Chelsea way is to prove people wrong, and more pressure is on PSG to win this thing and complete the sextuple or whatever it is. And of course, I'm nervous given PSG's attack and that Robert Sanchez will be in goal. But just don't make the same defensive mistakes Real Madrid did, and embrace the role of being the underdog. And just go out there and try to win and put up a good fight. So, at least for Tottenham, they are finally making some signings, including someone I wanted for Chelsea, Mohamed Kudus.
Yeah, so Mohamed Kudus finally is that kind of first big signing that Spurs have made this season. £55 million move. Definitely got him on, I would say, on the cheap. Because
yeah,
if I remember right,
there's rumors for him to be like 80 million plus.
Well, I think that's what his release clause was 80.
Yeah.
The expectation was that he was never going to go for that they might be able to get him for like 60, 65. Getting him for 55, I think, is really, really good. Great player. Struggled underneath Graham Potter. Just his role didn't really fit.
He was played out of position.
He was, absolutely. And I think this is a guy that could reignite his game underneath Thomas Frank. Again, Frank is going to be a guy that, even as Spurs supporters, we're still going to be learning about as well. How he adapts what he did with Brentford, coming over to Tottenham, but great first signing. Now, again, yesterday and the day before, everyone was feeling really, really good because we felt like we had a second signing in Morgan Gibbs-White coming from Nottingham Forest.
But just this morning,
£60 million release clause, but this morning it looks like Forest is threatening legal action due to a supposed confidentiality clause in that's wrapped up with the release clause. Now, they're accusing Spurs of talking to the player without their permission. That's a big no-no to Premier League rules, and that it's kind of wrapped up in the knowledge of this release clause. Have to see what's going to go on. There is a medical still scheduled for today. But Nottingham Forest said they're going to be fighting this. It'll be interesting to see how it happens. Because if they enact his release clause, there's not a whole lot, that Forest can do unless somehow they can prove that there was some sort of discussion between Gibbs-White and Spurs for knowledge of this release clause. I'm not too sure how that's going to work. My guess is you might see what happened with Manor Solomon when he came over from his team in Ukraine, where there was a compensation paid on top of the deal to make it happen. So we'll have to wait and see. There is also more links, again, to Brentford players because
Thomas Frank.
Johan Wissa has been linked. Possible transfer fee anywhere between 40 and 50 million pounds. Have to wait and see. And the one name that will not go away, Brian Membo. And this is mainly because for as much as this guy wants to move to Man United,
for some reason they're dragging it down.
The deal done. We're looking at 3 weeks that we've been waiting
more
for.
than that, I think. It's going on forever.
So Tottenham still feel like they got a shot somehow.
I actually want this deal to go through because it'd be so funny for Man United.
It would just be. Wouldn't it just be exactly? You know what's going to happen? Neither team's going to get it done. He's going to be playing with Brentford next year.
Yeah, but no, it'd be funnier that he goes to Tottenham, and then just for for all that stalling by Man United or whatever.
I really hope so because I think the battle at the top with Solanke would be really, really nice.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. Other than that, not a whole lot going on with Tottenham. They did officially announce the one player that they brought in from Japan, their new center back. They did officially give, I think, the number 20 to Kudus. So that's been done. And now we have legal fiasco. Not the only legal fiasco we have to talk about, because Lyon in Ligue 1 has been successful in their
relegation
of being relegated due to financial.
So they won't get relegated.
So they are not going to get relegated. But it does
Crystal
mean
Palace.
that UEFA has kicked Crystal Palace out of Europa League for next year.
They'll be playing in the Conference League.
But they will be fighting that through the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And that has to go with the multi-club ownership rule that exists.
Yeah.
So, the silly season is not just transfers. Apparently,
it's legal stuff. Yeah, and see where this Crystal Palace deal goes. I see them in the Europa League, like Thursday nights at Sellers Park.
Now, there had been talk, the one American owner that this is all wrapped up underneath, he had been looking at selling. It was Texter was looking at selling his stake in Palace. He owns a 43% stake in Crystal Palace, 77% stake in Lyon. So now the Premier League is arguing that because it is Texter's Eagle Football that owns the stake in Crystal Palace and not actually in the individual's name, that they are a separate entity. That's not flying with UEFA. So they better figure this out soon, because the preliminary rounds start right away.
Yeah, they start like late July, early August.
Yeah. So I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens with that. It'll be more fun.
Yep. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Hope you enjoy it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Follow me and Nathan on Twitter. Josh Array00 is me. Nathan is at Enduric. Podcast at Terminal City FC. We're also on Blue Sky as well. Terminal City FC is on Instagram and YouTube. Watch for short videos there. Recent Canadian news. The DeForger role extension with Fulham is official. Just 20 minutes ago.
Yep.
4 years. And Whitecaps back in action tomorrow. Club World Cup final on Sunday for me. And I'll be watching that, obviously. And we'll see what comes up with more Whitecaps news, what comes to transfers, Canadians on the move, and, of course, their European clubs. So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.